All right, let's get started. So it looks like you're thinking about maybe getting out of the USA.
A very popular idea these days.
And wow, you've given us a lot to work through today. Articles, guides, even some, I guess, personal notes we've got.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah. So why don't we dive into this and see what we can discover together?
Sounds good.
So first of all, I mean, it really does seem like a lot of people are thinking about moving abroad these days, right?
It is a growing trend.
What's interesting to me is looking through some of these sources, like this GCS source. It's not just about like cost of living.
Right.
I think that's kind of the obvious one, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But there's some other interesting things that that are motivating people.
Like what?
Well, some people are leaving because of high crime rates.
I can see.
Some people are looking for cultural adventures, you know?
Makes sense.
And then there's this whole thing about tax benefits, which is a whole other...
Can of worms.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting to think of the timing, though. Like, why is this happening now?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think it's this, kind of a perfect storm of, like, global events, economic shifts, and the rise of remote work.
Right, like all these things are kind of converging to make it more possible than ever.
Exactly.
So, okay, you've decided you want to leave the U.S.
Right.
Where do you even begin?
Right.
This 10 easiest countries to immigrate as an expat list, I think, is a good place to start.
Yeah, I agree.
And the top 3 on this list are Canada, Australia, and Germany.
No surprise there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Canada has that express entry system.
Right. Designed to attract skilled workers,
Okay.
particularly in fields like tech and healthcare.
If someone's thinking about that, like, what do they...
So basically, you earn points based on your age, your education, your work experience, language proficiency.
Oh, interesting.
And the higher your score, the better your chances of being invited to apply for permanent residency.
So it's not just like anybody can just...
No, they're really looking for people with very specific skills, like in things like software development, nursing, engineering.
Gotcha.
And of course, Canada's multicultural environment is a big draw.
Absolutely. What about Australia?
Well, Australia also has a points-based system
Okay.
favoring skilled workers,
Okay.
but they've also got those amazing landscapes, right?
All right.
From the outback to the Great Barrier Reef.
And a really high standard of living, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
High quality of life.
Canada, Australia.
And then there's Germany,
Sure.
a powerhouse economy.
Right.
Tons of opportunities for skilled professionals, but
Oh.
there's that language barrier. It's
Yeah.
not insurmountable,
Sure.
but learning German is definitely a commitment.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what this list calls the easy countries,
Right.
but easy doesn't always equal best.
Exactly. Sometimes the most rewarding experiences come from venturing off the beaten path a little bit.
I like that.
So maybe we should talk about cost of living.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's got to be a major factor for a lot of people, right?
Absolutely a huge motivator for people.
So we've got 2 sources here that are giving us some data on this. Insider Monkey and Greenback.
Okay.
What I find interesting is that they don't always agree.
Right, different methodologies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Insider Monkey ranks Ireland as number 20
Right.
with a cost of living index of 66.5.
Okay.
But Ireland's not even on Greenback's list.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's a great illustration of the limitations of these indices.
Okay.
They often rely on broad averages,
Right.
and they may not really capture the nuances of your specific career
Right.
or even your lifestyle or regional variations within a country.
Yeah, so what are some of the things that, like, Insider Monkey takes into account that maybe Greenback doesn't, or vice versa?
Well, so Insider Monkey, for example,
Okay.
they factor in things like groceries, transportation, utilities.
Okay.
But they don't really weigh things like healthcare or education costs as heavily as Greenback does.
Oh, interesting.
So, depending on your priorities, one index might be more relevant to you than the other.
Right. So you can't just, like, look at a number and be like,
Exactly.
oh, this is definitely affordable.
Right. You have to dig a little deeper and see, what's driving those numbers
Yeah.
and how they align with your personal situation.
That's why I think this whole deep dive is so helpful.
I agree.
Because it's like we're going through this together, and we
Yes.
can kind of tease apart what's actually important.
Yeah.
And speaking of teasing things apart, let's talk about citizenship versus residency,
Correct.
because I think that can be a little confusing.
It can be.
So how about you break that down for us?
So the GCS source actually does a good job of explaining this.
Okay.
So residency is kind of like a long-term visa.
Okay.
It allows you to live and work in a country,
Okay.
but it doesn't necessarily grant you all the rights and privileges of a citizen.
Okay, so like what's an example of something that you wouldn't be able to do as a resident that you could do as a citizen?
Well, voting, for example.
Oh, okay.
In many countries, you need to be a citizen to vote in elections.
Gotcha.
Citizenship is more like joining a new family
Yeah.
with all the responsibilities and benefits that come with it.
So if someone's not really sure if they want to like fully commit to a new country,
Right.
residency might be a good option.
Could be a good starting point.
Okay.
Allows you to get a feel for the place.
And if you're thinking about maybe like renouncing your U.S. citizenship to take advantage of some tax benefits in a new country?
That's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
There are a lot of legal complexities involved in that.
So is that something that you would say people need to like consult with an expert about?
Absolutely. If you're aiming for a clean break from the U.S.,
Mhm.
navigating all the legalities of renouncing your citizenship
Right.
and establishing residency or citizenship elsewhere, it can be a minefield.
Okay, so we've covered kind of the easy countries,
Right.
the cost of living,
Uh-huh.
and citizenship versus residency.
Yep.
What's next?
Well, how about we talk about a path that's a little bit more unconventional?
Oh, I look where this is going.
What if, instead of jumping through hoops and waiting years for approval, you could fast-track your way to citizenship in paradise?
Oh. Okay, I'm listening.
We're talking about citizenship by investment programs.
Okay.
The GCS source highlights a few places, exotic places,
Okay.
places like Malta, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica,
Okay.
where you could essentially buy your way into citizenship.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're telling me that I could be like sipping cocktails on a beach?
Exactly.
And like my biggest problem is like which snorkeling spot to go to.
Right.
And oh yeah, I'm also a citizen of this like amazing island paradise.
That's the idea.
That sounds too good to be true.
It does sound idyllic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But like with everything, there's a trade-off.
Oh.
These programs often require a significant financial investment.
Oh, really? Like how much are we talking?
We're talking hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars.
Wow. Okay, so if you've got the means though, it's like,
It could be a very tempting option.
yeah, what are some of the benefits besides, living in paradise?
Well, faster citizenship is a big one.
Okay.
You could potentially bypass all the usual bureaucratic hurdles
Okay.
and gain citizenship in a matter of months, not years.
Oh, wow.
And then once you're a citizen,
Yeah.
you often get access to visa-free travel to a whole bunch of other countries.
Oh, that's nice.
And there could be tax advantages as well,
Okay.
depending on the specific program and your financial situation, of course.
So it's not just about like escaping to a beautiful island.
Right.
There are some other.
There are some real tangible benefits.
Yeah, okay.
It's about weighing those benefits against the costs and deciding if it aligns with your overall goals.
That's what this whole thing is about, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
it's not just about moving, it's about like changing your lifestyle.
Right. It's a much bigger decision.
Yeah.
It's about stepping outside your comfort zone, embracing new experiences.
Yeah. And potentially reshaping your entire life.
Exactly.
All right, so we've got our kind of easy countries.
Yeah.
We've got the cost of living conundrum.
Yep.
We've got this citizenship by investment option.
Right.
It's like we're building a menu of possibilities here.
That's a great way to put it.
But before we like get too carried away with daydreams of these tropical islands,
Okay.
let's get down to the nitty-gritty of like actually making the move.
Sound like a plan.
Because I'm already starting to feel overwhelmed and we haven't even got to that part yet.
Well, let's swap out those rose-colored glasses for a practical checklist,
Yes, good idea.
and we'll dive into those details.
Perfect, because like I said, I need some help with that.
We'll figure it out together.
All right. So let's take a deep breath
Deep breath.
and get ready to get practical.
Okay. All right, so let's start with documentation.
Okay.
Both Forbes Home and Moving.com really emphasize this, passports, visas, health records. Make sure it's all up to date. And make copies for a friend or family member.
Oh, that's a good idea. Just in case something happens.
Exactly. Losing your passport in a foreign country? Not fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
Big headache.
So documentation, check. What about finances?
Yeah, so finances, of course.
Right,
You'll need access to funds in your new country.
right.
That might involve opening a local bank account
Okay,
or transferring money overseas.
okay.
And, those potential tax implications we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
This is where seeking professional advice is key.
Okay,
Talk to a tax expert
right.
who specializes in international relocation.
Gotcha.
They can guide you through the process.
So documentation, finances, expert advice. It's starting to feel real. What about all my stuff?
Ah, yes, stuff.
Like, do I ship it? Do I sell it? Do I just become a minimalist and start over?
Big question.
Yeah.
Moving.com has a cool tool, actually.
Okay.
It's a cost comparison tool that can help you figure out,
Okay.
what makes more sense, shipping versus renting furniture.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they also suggest, maybe considering a trial period.
A trial period, like before you actually move.
Exactly.
I like that idea. Like a test drive for your new life.
Exactly. Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
You can rent a place for a year, see how you like it,
Right.
and then decide if you want to ship all your stuff over.
Yeah. Commit or not.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm adding trial period to my list right now. What else?
Well, Moving.com also talks about relocating with pets.
Oh gosh, I hadn't even thought about that.
It's not as simple as you might think.
I have a dog, so I'm very curious about this.
Right, so first of all, you've got to research the pet import laws
Oh, okay.
for the specific country
Okay.
because they vary wildly.
Okay.
Some countries require specific vaccinations or quarantine periods.
Oh, no.
Some even have breed restrictions.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want to arrive in paradise
Right.
only to find out your beloved pet is stuck in quarantine.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
It's heartbreaking.
Okay, so research pet import laws for sure. What about actually getting them there?
Yeah, so then there's the whole logistics of transporting your pet.
Right.
Got to look into airline requirements, pet carriers that meet international standards.
Okay.
And you might even want to think about hiring a pet relocation service.
Oh, wow. There's a whole industry for that.
There is. It's a lot to think about.
Okay, but hey, if it means bringing my dog with me, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Worth the effort.
Okay, so we've got pets. Anything else?
What about your car?
Oh, my car. I kind of like my car.
Moving.com also has some insights on shipping your car overseas.
I'm guessing that's going to be pricey.
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
You've got sea freight, which is slower but more affordable.
Okay.
And then you've got air freight, which is faster but a lot more expensive. Unless you're shipping a vintage Rolls Royce.
Right.
Sea freight is probably the way to go.
All right, sea freight it is. But even with sea freight, like, I'm assuming there are some hidden costs.
You got it. Got to factor in things like marine insurance,
Oh.
destination charges,
Right.
and even potential customs duty, depending on your car's value.
Okay, so maybe it's time to consider Plan B, embracing the local transportation options.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe dust off the old bicycle.
Get some exercise.
Exactly.
It's all about adapting to a new environment.
Right. Being open to new experiences.
Exactly.
Speaking of new experiences, what about severing those financial ties with the U.S.?
Ah, yes, the big decision.
That GCS source really made me think about that.
Right. It's a bold move.
It sounds kind of scary, but also kind of freeing.
It is. It's definitely not a decision to make lightly.
Right.
We're talking about potentially moving assets offshore,
Okay.
reassessing investments.
Right.
You really have to understand the long-term implications.
So it's not just like filling out a form and saying, see you later.
No, it's much more complex than that.
Right.
And it's not just about the financial aspect either.
Oh, okay.
Severing ties with the U.S. could affect things like voting routes,
Oh, yeah.
access to certain benefits,
Gotcha.
even your sense of identity.
Wow.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it's like a whole other level.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from the really practical stuff like visas and finances to the bigger questions about identity and belonging.
The whole spectrum.
And I gotta say, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed,
Understandable.
but in a good way.
That's good. I mean, you're really engaging with the material.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to see this as a possibility.
That's great.
Not just a fantasy.
It's within reach.
It is. So what about you? Like, after all this research, which countries are you kind of leaning towards?
That's a good question. I think, personally, I'm drawn to countries that offer that balance of practicality and adventure.
Okay.
So Canada, for example, with its welcoming immigration policies. Australia with its points-based system that values skilled workers.
Yeah.
And even somewhere like Costa Rica,
Okay.
which was highlighted in that 10 easiest countries list,
Right.
that cultural richness. It's appealing in a different way.
Yeah, I'm with you on Canada and Australia. Those points-based systems sound pretty good.
Yeah, they're designed to attract talent.
Yeah. But part of me is also kind of drawn to that escape to paradise vibe.
Yeah, I get that.
Maybe somewhere like Dominica
Yeah.
with that citizenship by investment program
Right.
and its focus on eco-friendly living.
That's a big draw for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's like, how do you choose?
It's a tough choice.
Yeah.
It's like choosing between a delicious multi-course meal
Right.
And a decadent dessert buffet.
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no right answer.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all.
It's about finding the best fit for you
Exactly.
and your priorities and your dreams.
Absolutely. It's a very personal journey.
Yeah. And speaking of dreams, one last thought for you to ponder. What if you could, like, design your own country?
Your ideal country to move to.
Yeah. Like, what would that look like? What would be the things that you absolutely had to have?
It's like creating your own personal utopia.
I love it.
So, what aspects from all these countries that we've talked about
Right.
would you combine?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What are your non-negotiables?
Okay, so I'm thinking I definitely want a strong job market.
In your field, of course.
Of course.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm doing this podcasting thing, so
Right.
media, communications, something like that.
Okay, so a thriving media hub.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of opportunities.
And affordable housing,
Gotta have that.
because some of these places we've been talking about are not cheap.
Yeah, some of them are definitely more expensive than others.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you? What would be on your list?
Ooh, let's see.
Top 3 non-negotiables.
Top 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think a strong sense of community is really important to me.
Okay.
Feeling connected to the people around me.
Yeah.
Access to nature, that's a big one for me.
Oh, yeah, me too. Like mountains, beaches, forests, all of it.
Exactly. And a good healthcare system.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Can't forget about that.
So it sounds like we're both looking for a place that has a good balance of, like, practical stuff
Right.
and also things that are good for the soul.
Exactly. Quality life is so important.
It really is. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
A lot to chew on.
We've explored so many different options, different countries, different ways of approaching this whole idea of moving abroad.
Different paths to a new life.
And it's really exciting to think about all the possibilities.
It is. The world is full of opportunities.
So if you're listening and you're feeling inspired,
take that first step.
do your research.
Reach out to some experts.
Maybe even book a trip just to get a taste of what it's like.
Test the waters.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Because you never know. You might just find your dream life waiting for you on the other side of the world.
The world is your oyster.
Well said. All right, that's it for our deep dive into the world of relocating from the USA.
Hope you enjoyed the journey.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but remember, this is just the beginning.
The adventure is just starting.
So keep exploring, keep dreaming, and who knows, maybe we'll bump into you on a beach in Bali someday.
Or a cozy cafe in Paris.
Or a mountaintop retreat in Nepal.
The possibilities are endless.
That's right. Until next time, happy travels.